Well, it is that time. It is that time, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the show. How are you doing? Well, listen, it is daylight saving time already. That's right. It will end. Actually, I should say it's ending on this weekend. Yeah, we'll gain an extra hour of sleep, and of course, spend the next few months and I don't know, what I consider mostly darkness every day. Yeah, I think it'll start getting dark around 4:30ish, and then we'll wake up in the mornings 5, 6 a.m. It's dark, so we'll be spending a lot of time in the dark for the next few months. Kind of feels like we should be going into hibernation, right? Are you kind of feeling it, like your internal clock? Maybe because right now it's, by 6, it's dark. And so 8 o'clock at night, it feels like it's 10 because it's been dark for so long already. And you just want to go curl up somewhere and sleep. Anyway, it's that time, everybody. It'll be happening this weekend. Of course, I'll remind you again before we get there. All right, and so, of course, here in the Midwest, it's getting cooler, colder, in my opinion. It's that time of the year, and so as you know, those who've been with the show, every time we get to this part of the year, this time of the year, I feel like I should be living somewhere else where it's warmer. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you're in the Midwest or where you're living, but if your seasons change, if you experience fall and winter, spring, summer, shouldn't the leaves have fallen or started falling off the trees by now? Or is it just me? I just feel like the trees are kind of behind schedule this year, right? Normally, I just distinctly know that, mid to late October, we have an abundance of leaves that have to be raked every year. And it's November 2nd, and there's no leaves to be raked right now. I don't know. I just think that somehow the seasons have kind of gotten behind schedule. Just an observation, no complaints here, just an observation, everybody. All right, so how are you on this Tuesday? Again, it's the second day of November 2021, and of course, we're bringing it to you once again. It's going to be a shortened version of the show. Let's turn this down so we won't have it going off in our ears here. All right. So a shortened version of the show because we're doing the show twice a week now. So, we try to keep it short unless there's a guest, and then we go a little long. But anyway, we're going to do it today as we always do. We're going to look at some corona updates as well as business news, and we'll get into our one last thing before we go. So let's go. Are you ready? All right, let's look at the corona update. According to Johns Hopkins, as of noon today, there were about 247 million COVID-19 cases globally. And we've now exceeded that 5 million mark in terms of deaths here on planet Earth. 5 million people have died from COVID-19. Now, here in the United States, they're reporting about 46 million confirmed cases and 747,296 deaths here in the United States. And by the way, 58% of people here in the United States have been vaccinated, fully vaccinated. That's about 191 million people that have now been fully vaccinated. So that's good news, right? All right. And then over in China, where they say all of this started, they are now reporting about 109,744 cases of COVID-19. That's about 520 more since the report last week. And they remain at 4,849 COVID-19 deaths. China is being very strategic and getting to the roots of the problems when they get reports of COVID-19 positive cases. And so they go to the extreme and shut down society when there's just a hint of a COVID outbreak. And so here's some examples, like this was reported over the weekend. I guess it happened last week and was reported either late last week or over the weekend. There were 2 trains that were stopped in their tracks last week when a couple of crew members were discovered to have been in close contact with infected people. Now, of course, authorities there quickly isolated the crew members and tested everyone else that was on that train before sending them home to isolate. And then just this Saturday, after finding a single positive COVID case, one county in Shanghai province of China turned all of its traffic lights red just to get people to stop their movement so that they could track down that one positive case. And I guess they tested everyone before sending them home with more instruction. I'm telling you, they're very extreme over there. And then on Sunday, the Shanghai Disneyland was shut down when a single attendee tested positive for COVID after returning home. Now, they went to the extreme again by lining up nearly 34,000 guests at the theme park to be tested by workers who were wearing hazmat suits before anyone could leave. But that didn't stop the famous Disney fireworks. Of course, the guests were entertained by the spectacular display while they waited to be tested. Isn't that something? They go to the extreme over there, and I guess that's why their case numbers are low, as well as the deaths have decreased. All right. Well, let's go ahead and look at one more COVID story before we get into our business news. Now, this one comes from a study that was funded by the National Institute for Health Research. The study ran reportedly between September 2020 and September 2021. And it concluded that fully vaccinated people can catch and pass on COVID-19, particularly the highly infectious Delta variant. And of course, they can get it and they can pass it on to other vaccinated people as well. Now, the study led by Imperial College of London identified 163 people out of 621 participants had caught COVID-19. So they had 621 participants, and 163 of them caught COVID-19, and 71 of the 163 were caught the Delta variant of COVID. Now, of those infected with the Delta variant, 54% were fully vaccinated, 32% were unvaccinated, and 14% had received just one dose of a vaccine. Now, this study, again, was done by the Imperial College of London and was funded by the National Institute for Health Research. But the report came from the Business Insider, and they did not share what percentage of the 163 participants who caught COVID were vaccinated. So again, it didn't indicate if all of the 163 participants were vaccinated, or if it just didn't provide that information. But, we knew that, right? We learned that in late spring, early summer here in the United States when things kind of opened up prematurely and vaccinated people were told you don't have to wear a mask anymore. And then, a couple weeks later, they discovered that they had to go back to that. And so I think we learned then, and they had been saying already that the vaccine was 90% effective or somewhere along those lines. So, there's that slim chance that someone vaccinated could still catch and spread COVID-19, and particularly the Delta variant. And so, hopefully we'll continue to keep this COVID-19 pandemic treated very seriously. I know that everyone's getting excited because, the numbers are slowly going down. I'm so excited about that. And again, when you talk about 191 million Americans who have been vaccinated, and then you factor in the millions and millions of others who have caught and overcome COVID-19. What did we say? How many in the United States? There were 46 million who've had COVID-19. And when you factor in that natural immunity or the herd immunity factor, we are getting over the hump, and I'm excited about it. And so we're going to continue to stay safe, everyone. Wash your hands and even social distance and even wear the mask until, we can kill off the virus, because if we're doing those things, it can't survive, it won't live, right? All right, well, let's get into some business news. Well, many Americans are beginning to feel more comfortable returning to work because, of the decline in COVID cases and deaths. Things appear to be getting better. Also because of the fact that many of the women and families in general, but mostly women and particularly single women, were dealing with childcare situations and children returning to school issues where, if the kid had a temp, then they had to be sent home to self-isolate for 10 days or whatever. And if they coughed, then they had, so parents were going through a lot when all the kids returned back to school. So now that things are kind of smoothing out, everyone's feeling comfortable returning back to the workforce. And so as a result, the labor market is showing signs of hiring uptick. Because remember, for a good while, particularly in the retail and restaurant and even healthcare industries and education, it was tough getting people to work, but now it's kind of turning around. And for the last month, new unemployment claims have fallen every week, down to a pandemic low of 281,000 just this last Thursday was the report. But nevertheless, economists are still slow to predict when full recovery of the economy will happen because of supply chain issues that we've been hearing about, continued labor shortages. Yeah, people are slowly, returning back to the workforce, but there's still just an enormous shortage of labor. The inflation that results because of all of this, and then of course other problems that complicate economic recovery. And so we're just going to have to hang in there, everybody, and do our part and hope that things get back to normal fairly quickly. Now, for nearly a year and a half, many folks have worked from home. I think the number was about 40% of people worked from home and became pretty good at it. Productivity increased, and of course, activities that wasted folks' times pre-pandemic, like commuting, were eliminated. And so people, got to spend more time focused on work, and they got to spend more time with their loved ones. What's a average commute? Just on the low end, an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, that's 2 hours that's saved. And so it's all worked out. Now, there are some people who enjoyed staying at home because they said they can focus better. And then there are those who are wanting to get back into the office because they say they can focus better at the office. And so I think the takeaway here is that employers have to consider everyone's situation and circumstances are different. And so when folks are returning back to work, because what I'm hearing is in larger offices in particular, they are, the new norm is going to be, you're going to have, a percentage of the workforce working from home and a percentage coming into the office. And so employers should consider, the employee's situation when making those decisions. Some want to be in the office, some don't. Now, I personally believe that most people will be disciplined enough to work when they need to work, regardless of the physical location. And so moving forward, I think the work situation can and will be more hybrid. Some days you'll go into the office to do certain things, and then you'll save the more disciplined work, the work that requires more concentration, you'll save for home when you're, home alone and can focus. And then the more collaborative work where, you need to be in groups and meetings and things of that nature can be spent in the office with your coworkers. I think that's how things are going to look now because, the world has changed right in front of our eyes. And even in just doing some reading and research, I've discovered that, what do you call them? Office designers, they're all looking at new ways to lay out offices now with COVID and other infectious diseases in mind. Before this COVID hit, we dealt with flu, some pretty serious flu outbreaks over the years, but this has been the most serious infectious disease that we've had to deal with here in the United States. And we're learning the importance of touch points, keeping touch points clean. And now that we're so advanced in technology, a lot of these developers and designers and architects of office space are looking at touchless ways, ways that workers can open doors without having to touch them. Ways to even get on the elevator without having to touch the buttons and select the floor without having to touch anything. You know what I mean? And so even in the spaces, they're looking at ways to have space between in the open office concepts. They're creating these cubicles with the plexiglass that goes up higher than normal, and they're just considering all these new ways to design office space with the idea of COVID-19 and God forbid, should any other thing happen anytime soon in terms of infectious diseases with humans. But they're considering all of this. So everything is changing. And, the idea of people working from home has always been out there, but it's been very minimal. And, now here we are. It's very real. Again, I believe they said anywhere from 38 to 40% of the workforce will be working from home, whether it's every day of the week or more hybrid, where they're home so many days a week and in the office so many days a week. So it's a new world, everybody. I guess we just got to wrap our minds around it and get used to it. All right. Well, Coca-Cola has made a major move in an attempt to conquer Pepsi's Gatorade. They have agreed to buy the rest of Body Armor for $5.6 billion. Now, this is Coca-Cola's biggest acquisition in the history of the company. And what is Body Armor? I've seen it. I've never had it. But Body Armor was founded back in 2011 as a natural alternative to sugary sports drinks. And the brand sold about 15% of its stake to Coca-Cola back in 2018. Now Coca-Cola is purchasing all of it. And so this deal will give Coca-Cola a 22% share of the United States sports drink market. Gatorade, however, will still own about 70% of that market. So, they've increased things. And from what I've read, I believe Kobe Bryant and some other athletes invested in that company. So they're coming out on the winning end of all of this. Well, his family, in Kobe's case, will benefit. But that's what's happening in business. Let's take a look at the stock market. As of about 1:30-ish this afternoon, the Dow was up 153.10 to 36,065.72 points. The S&P 500 was up 17.82 to 4,631.72 points, and the NASDAQ was up 40.85 to 15,946.13 points. Gold was down just a bit, $4.45 to $1,787 per ounce, and oil was also down a tad bit, just 25 cents to $83.62 per barrel. All right. And let's get to our one last thing, everybody. And this is some good news. Julius Jones finally got the opportunity to tell his story at his clemency hearing on Monday, which was yesterday. And after hearing all of the testimony from Julius and from his lawyers and from a few advocates, and then, of course, the prosecutors and even family members of the victim, the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board voted 3-1 to recommend clemency and to commute Julius's sentence to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Now, that's a first step towards saving Julius's life. They need you to go to www.justiceforjuliusjones.com for all the important information and updates, but especially for the contact link to send an email to the Oklahoma Governor Stitt and ask him to take the recommendation of the Pardon and Parole Board and to grant his clemency and commute his sentence to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Again, that's justiceforjuliusjones.com. All right, and that is, again, some good news, and we'll just pray that the governor acts swiftly and speedily in Jesus' name. All right. So are you ready for the November word of the month, everyone? It's a short one, just a one-syllable word. You want to hear it? Well, here we go. It's treg. Treg. I know. I never heard of it before, other than trigonometry. People, we would say that in school. I've never had trig, by the way, but you would hear those students who took trig, they'd say, instead of saying trigonometry, they would say, oh, I took a trig course. But this trig means neat and smart in appearance. Trig, which means neat and smart in appearance. And so we don't want to just look smart and be neat, but we want to be smart and be neat as well, right? So let's practice that word in our vocabulary for the month of November, but let's also practice it in our being, right? In our presentation. Be neat and smart in appearance, but not just look it, but actually be it. So that's our word for the month of November. Man, I can't believe that we've been doing this since December. So maybe next month when we wrap up the year, we'll just do a quick review of all the new words that we've learned in this past year. And then you can kind of assess how effective you've been in using them, in your everyday language. And I know that there are words that people don't necessarily hear every day, like mirific. That was our first word. Mirific means wonders or amazing or wonderful things. We just say wonderful or amazing. We don't use the word mirific, but hopefully you have been. I have been. All right. And so if you have not been keeping up with the show, last week we did our first countdown to Christmas giveaway. Yay! And so the next one will be right before Thanksgiving Day in a couple of weeks. So if you want to be considered a potential winner, all you have to do is send an email with your name and contact information to producer@MarylandsCafeSociety.com. Now, what I've done for some of you, if you've interacted with me in some kind of way through the show, I just automatically put you in. And so that was the great surprise for our first winner, LCH. She didn't know that I put her in. I did send out a notice to those that I did, but the element of surprise was wonderful. And so if you've interacted with me in some way, you probably are already in my little cup here. But if you want to make sure that you get included for this next drawing, go ahead and send that email with your name and contact information to producer@MarylandsCafeSociety.com. Also, if you have a business, product, or brand, and you want to get some extra promotion and exposure through my show and website, et cetera, send your information to producer@MarylandsCafeSociety.com. All right, be sure to check out the website, my friends. There you can connect with me through my social media, also the blog, which I do every week, and right here on YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in and checking out the show. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And remember to join the email club. It's just an email I shoot out on Mondays to kind of help you get your week going, 1 or 2 sentences. You can send it to MarylandsCafeSociety@yahoo.com, your email address, and I'll just enroll you in. It's just that simple. All right, are you ready for what love is? Love is, on this day, a romantic weekend under canvas. A romantic weekend under canvas. And I guess the canvas that a tent is made out of. All right, I'll take it. And remember, if you don't do anything else until we meet again, be sure that you live, you laugh, and you love. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to hang out. And I'll see you guys on the next show. Peace, everybody.